Let's just jump right in, guys. Welcome to a brand new explainer. Today, we're taking a close look at the incredible, honestly kind of unbelievable reality of the Lamalera community. We'll be seeing this world through the eyes of Bapak Ignatius Sarang Balialong. He's a 75-year-old retired harpooner from this very remote Indonesian whaling village. I mean, just imagine for a second a life that is entirely dictated by the unforgiving tides of the ocean. Every single day is this massive test of sheer physical endurance, and really relying on your neighbors. So we're going to unpack the extraordinary lengths this community goes to just to survive, the deep spiritual mashup that guides them, and a truly beautiful story of a father's legacy.
It's better you work in a shade, like a teacher or a clerk, so you sit in the shade, not in the cold, waves, and wind.
You know, what strikes me so deeply about this quote is just the universal nature of a parent's worry. Here we have a man who is literally an absolute warrior of the sea, someone who has faced down ocean elements for decades. Yet, his ultimate dream for his kids, it's so relatable. He just wants them to be safe. He wants them out of the cold, far away from the crashing waves and the biting wind, just sitting comfortably in an office somewhere. It really beautifully contrasts the extreme, super perilous reality of a Lamalera whaler with that quiet, everyday hope of a parent who just wants an easier life for their children.
So, Part 1. The Whalers of Lamalera, living on the edge of the sea. To really grasp what Ignatius did for a living, we need to talk about the Juru Tikam. See, Papa Ignatius isn't just a regular fisherman, he's a man whose whole existence has been a literal battle with the ocean. At 75, his body, his memories, they are totally shaped by the sea. And a Juru Tikam, that is not someone who just casts a net from a safe, comfortable distance. No way. This is the traditional harpooner of Lamalera who literally leaps from a moving boat, using their full body weight to drive a harpoon into whales and massive manta rays. Really picture that for a second. They launch themselves into the open ocean, facing immense, unthinkable physical danger. It's absolutely crucial we understand this specific life-or-death vocabulary, because when Ignatius goes to work, his life is literally hanging in the balance on the tip of that harpoon.
Moving on to Part 2, passing down the harpoon, a father's warning.
So Ignatius has a big family, 7 children. And as we just heard, he gave them the most sincere, deepest warnings. He wanted to shield them from the life of a Juru Tikam, constantly pushing them to get an education, find an office job. But, you know, the call of the sea and really just the harsh realities of survival in Lamalera, well, they have a way of overriding even the sternest parent. 3. Out of his 7 children, 3 of his sons made a secret choice. They actually skipped school, hiding their truancy, pretending to go to class, when in reality they were sneaking off to follow their dad to sea. They watched the older men, learn the ropes, and ultimately all 3 of them became harpooners themselves. Can you even imagine the shock at the dinner table when Ignatius finally figured out his boys chose the exact path he tried to steer them away from? He pleaded with them. He'd say, "You shouldn't follow father's work at sea. It's the heaviest work." You can really feel the emotional weight there. He calls it the heaviest work because it literally breaks the body and tests the soul. But despite his profound desire for them to sit in the shade, his sons chose to take on this heavy, incredibly dangerous burden anyway. Why? Because they saw the reality of their world. In Lamalera, taking up the harpoon isn't some teenage rebellion. It's a sheer act of duty to make sure the family survives.
Which brings us to Part 3, a community of sharing, the law of semua makan.
In Lamalera, survival is never an individual pursuit. You just can't survive alone against the ocean. The entire fabric of this village relies on this intricate, unbreakable social safety net. If one boat goes out and another has to stay behind, or if one crew makes a catch and another completely strikes out, the community steps in to balance the scales. This brings us to this absolutely beautiful philosophy, semua makan. It translates perfectly to everyone eats, and it ensures absolutely no one in the village is left behind. It's brilliant, really. Ignatius freely shares his vast knowledge of the ocean. He helps repair other boats, even boats belonging to rival crews, without ever asking for a single coin. He does it because of this open-hearted community rule. If he helps someone today, they might help his sons tomorrow. It's like this highly localized, super vital form of karma. And you can see how this philosophy dictates exactly how a catch is divided in the real world. So when a whale or ray is caught, first up, the hunters, who actually risk their lives, get their share. Makes sense, right? But immediately after that, widows, the most vulnerable folks in the community who obviously can't hunt, they get supported.
Then inland mountain villages trade their agricultural goods for the sea's bounty, since they don't have coast access. And finally, even other boats get a cut. Rivals at sea, sure, but brothers in survival. Every single piece of the catch serves a vital purpose to keep the whole ecosystem of the village alive. All right, part 4, From Stones to Church, the Evolution of Faith. When your daily life involves literally leaping onto the backs of giant sea creatures, physical skill just isn't going to cut it. You need spiritual armor. Over here, the physical act of survival is deeply, inextricably tied up with spiritual rituals. Looking at the old beliefs rooted in animism, their ancestors prayed directly to stones. They'd offer cracked chicken eggs, genuinely believing these ancient rocks were God's direct creations meant to bring luck. Now contrast that with today. The village attends Sunday Mass, they pray for God's grace, and they wash away their sins. But what's truly amazing is how seamlessly these two worlds blended together. The intense reverence their ancestors had for nature didn't just disappear, it simply transformed and got integrated right into devout Catholic practices. And this faith is incredibly structured. Step 1, Sunday Mass, bringing everyone together. Step 2, and this is crucial, comes confession and the washing of sins. Ignatius explains that before they go out to sea, they must literally cleanse their mouths and their actions. Then we hit step 3, the Monday hunt with a clean heart. In Lamalera, purifying your soul isn't just a nice metaphor, it is mandatory, literal preparation for the physical dangers of Monday morning. They firmly believe that if you have sin or conflict in your heart, the sea will punish you for it. Plus, there's another totally fascinating layer to this belief system. They actively pray to their ancestors. That includes both the ones who tragically died at sea and those who passed away on land. They view these ancestors as powerful intercessors. The logic here is actually pretty simple and profound. Their departed loved ones are now way closer to God than they are. So in their hearts, the living are literally collaborating with the dead, asking their ancestors to petition God directly to provide the village with a good catch. It's this whole spiritual ecosystem that spans life and death. Which brings us to our final section, part 5. The harpooner's true legacy, what we leave behind. Sitting there at 75 years old, no longer able to leap from the bow of the boat, Ignatius reflects quietly on his own mortality. He watches his sons head out to the dangerous waters that he used to conquer, and he really has to ask himself what his life's work actually means. What is he actually leaving behind for his kids? It leads to a pretty profound question. What is a father's greatest inheritance? Just think about that universally for a second. In our modern society, we almost always think of a legacy in terms of bank accounts or property or social status. But when you live on the edge of the sea, where survival is literally a daily question mark, the whole concept of an inheritance takes on a much more raw and vital meaning. And that brings us to Ignatius's answer. He says, my legacy is an ivory or treasure. Father's work is the livelihood, the boat. If I die, I'm happy they know how to survive. Wow, it gives you chills, doesn't it? True wealth for this elder isn't money. It's not material treasure at all. It's the boat he built, the deep knowledge of the sea he shared, and the incredibly difficult skills his sons learned from him. He actually finds peace in knowing that even when he's gone, his kids aren't going to starve. Ultimately, we see that tradition in Lamalera doesn't survive just out of stubbornness. They aren't clinging to the past simply because they refuse to change. It survives through absolute necessity, immense physical sacrifice, and just deep, deep familial love. The dangerous, heavy life of the Juraticum continues from generation to generation because, at its core, it is the ultimate act of love and survival for both the family and the village. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. In a world of changing tides, both literal and metaphorical ones, what vital skills and truths are you passing on to your children to weather the storm? Papa Ignatius gave his sons the harpoon and the sea. It really makes you reflect on your own life and legacy, for sure. Anyway, thank you so much for exploring this incredible story with me today. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.